is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers' best bet or daily package for only $2.
Welcome into First Pitch, WagerTalk's premier MLB betting show for Tuesday, June 15th. It's $2 Tuesday, guys. Great day to check out WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. Top handicappers, top play, discounted to just $2. But for today's show, we got 4 games, best bets at the end. Good crew here. Steve Merrill and Dave Koken of WagerTalk.com joining me here. Steve, coming to you first, man. Welcome in. Happy Tuesday morning to you. Welcome in the show.
Hey, Drew, great to be here. NBA had been running well until last night. I had a rare losing night in the NBA. There's just one game tonight, so we're going to pass on that. But I do have 2 baseball best bets tonight. I went 3-0 yesterday. Won a best bet on plus money run line, and then 2 free play winners yesterday on Monday. So be sure to check out those free plays. And they're going to have another one here at the end of the show today for all the viewers. So 2-for-1 baseball special, $2 Tuesday, of course, for other cappers, WagerTalk.com.
Absolutely. And free plays, free advice here on the show. So make sure to stay tuned for the best bets. And last, certainly not least here, Dave Koken. Dave, welcome in. Happy Tuesday morning to you, buddy.
Thank you, Drew. Things are pretty good right now. I hit a rather large ticket over the weekend on Higo to win the Palmetto PGA stop this past weekend, 54-1. Gave out 2 outrights. My all-access players get those. 1% plays. So they're not big plays, but they don't have to be when you hit one at 5,400. So it's good. Baseball's running good right now. I'm pretty happy. Got a best bet up tonight, and you can get that right now on my homepage, wt.buzz/DC. No free play today, but I've got one of the selections that I like I'll use as the best bet here on the show. So let's get to it.
Let's get after it, guys. Starting here in the AL East, we're heading up to Buffalo for a Toronto Blue Jays home game here, Dave. We get Montgomery versus Ryu, 2 good lefties. Montgomery in good form of late. We're seeing a total of 9 Toronto minus 120 favorites here. Toronto's kind of had the Yankees number so far this season, Dave. 5-2, I believe, on the season. What are you looking to do here, Yankees and Blue Jays tonight, Dave?
I think everybody's got the Yankees number right now, don't they? They're not playing very well. Much. Aaron Boone's having to explain to the media that the team's still trying, or whatever that question was that was asked to him. The one thing they've done well is win when Montgomery's on the mound. They're 9-3 in his games. So he hasn't been their best pitcher. He hasn't been even close to their best pitcher. But they've been scoring runs for him, and maybe they'll get some tonight. Ryu has not looked all that great. His numbers are a little bit sketchy lately. As far as the offenses go, I mean, this Blue Jays team, Jesus, you can't get Guerrero out right now. And he's facing a lefty, which makes matters maybe even a little bit worse. I have a feeling you got to get some runs in this game tonight. I think the Yankees, against a less than ideal Ryu, get some runs. And Toronto's bats slowed down a bit last night, but they've just been crushing the baseball. So I would anticipate they'll get runs off Montgomery, who's actually got kind of below average numbers on the road, despite the fact the Yankees have won 4 of his 6 starts. I would look toward the over in this game.
Yeah, and Steve, we see Vladimir Guerrero's stats there popping up on the screen. He's been hot, but like Dave touched on last night, the Blue Jays lineup didn't put up much production there. Unfortunately, I took the loss on him with my best bet. But like Dave, I was looking towards the over. I mean, the Yankees bullpen is pretty solid, and Montgomery's been good of late, but still, I think both lineups put up some crooked numbers here. What are you thinking tonight in Buffalo?
Yeah, I think the big question for the over and for both teams in general is, which offense shows up. Is the offense from both teams that had double-digit hits for several games? In fact, Toronto had 16, 10, and 20 hits their 3 previous games until last night. They only have 4 hits, 1 run. The Yankees, meanwhile, surprisingly, offensively, had 11 hits or more, or 10 hits or more, double-digit hits in 5 straight games until Sunday when they got shut out 7-0 with only 4 hits. So is that a one-off for each team, or is that the sign that they're starting to cool off? I think both offenses are still in pretty good current form. I do worry a little bit about Toronto's emotional mindset here. They tied the game at the top of the 9th last night in Fenway, and then they lose on a walk-off in the bottom of the 9th, and now they travel back home without rest. whereas the Yankees were off Monday. So it's not an ideal setup from that angle. But everything else for me points to Toronto in this one. Two pretty even starting pitchers, but statistically, Ryu's actually got better numbers. We all talk about the Yankee bullpen this year, but Toronto's bullpen, pretty solid numbers as well overall, despite having to pitch in a very offensive-friendly minor league ballparks, both down in Florida and now in Buffalo. But overall, Toronto has been the better offensive team this year. Even if you look at road games only, which I think you have to do with Toronto because, once again, they have very hitter-friendly ballparks this year. They still have the most home runs of any American League team on the road this season. They have played a few more games than other teams, but still higher batting average, higher OPS than the Yankees in road games only. So I think we get the pitching. Pitching's kind of a wash here. We get home field advantage, and it's a unique home field, by the way. It's a smaller ballpark. It is Buffalo minor league, so I do think there's a little bit of a home field advantage. And then also we get the better offensive team here at only $1.25 price. So I think Toronto gets their hitting ways back. And let's keep in mind, they maybe didn't hit the ball well yesterday, but they had 20 hits and 18 runs on Sunday. So it's not like they're ice cold right now. And I like the Blue Jays in this one.
Yeah, looking towards the Jays. Go ahead, Dave.
We are seeing offensive numbers are starting to trend up. And I don't think there's any coincidence this is tied into the sticky substance stuff that's going on in baseball right now. They're going to start checking that on the 21st. But I think pitchers are already making adjustments, if you will. And we've seen batting averages up about 9 points over the past week. Slugging, I think, is up about 20 points over the last week. So I'd be a little bit leery about looking at unders right now. Kind of let's see what happens. But I'm a first 5 under player, and I'm kind of scratching those for the time being and looking more towards situations where you might get overs. This particular game is not going to be one of them, even though I lean to the over. That number's gone up from 8.5 to 9, and the over is juiced. So I would not recommend it at the present price because, you're just not getting any value at all.
And Steve, we were talking about it a little before we started here. Our producer Robert sent a article about, sticky substances and checking on the 21st, like Dave said, with I believe 10-game suspension if they find anything. Steve, do you think that's enough? I mean, part of me almost thinks 10 games, like it might be worth it. The risk reward is there for the pitchers. What do you think?
Yeah, as you guys know, I've been talking a lot about this the last couple of weeks. 2 Sundays ago, right here on Wager Talk TV, I did that video a couple weekends ago, kind of first putting this out in the spotlight for a lot of people that probably weren't familiar with it. And, there's a lot of different ways to approach this. I've got a little bit of a new theory, which I have not said publicly here, so I'll talk about it right now, is that I think you take a little bit of a zigzag approach. Garrett Cole was one of the poster childs about this, yet I actually used the Yankees on the run line in his start last week. I thought he would bounce back strong. Wood is another guy that people have been rumbling about. He'd really struggled. I used him last night on the Giants run line and got him at plus money on the -1.5. There's 2 ways to look at this. These guys are going to maybe tone down a little bit, which is what's happening, but they also aren't going to have 2 or 3 bad starts in a row. So what are they going to do? Never cheat again and be out of the league? So I think they're going to take their chances. They're going to pick their spots. And I think we're seeing that happen. And now that it's being pushed back a week, it was supposed to be this Sunday, by the way. Joe Ranieri and I were on the air this weekend. And Joe had said Sundays when it was starting 2 days ago, and now it's next Monday. So I don't know. I'm almost taking less. I'm worried about it a little less now, to be honest, than I was a week ago. And I'm taking more of a wait and see approach. And my last thought on this too, guys, is do they suspend a real big name guy out of the gate, or do they suspend a no name middle reliever to make a point? I'm kind of leaning towards that second theory. And, so I think these guys are going to keep doing it until someone is called out.
I think it depends on the pitcher. If Trevor Bauer is one of the guys that.
Yeah, I think he wants to get caught.
Yeah, you might be right. And I don't think they'll hesitate to suspend him because he kind of rankles the shirt and tie crowd in baseball because he's a little bit outrageous. I could see him being the first guy. I think they'll.
Yeah, I would agree.
They're going to check everybody. Okay, I really don't know, and unfortunately, I don't know any of the current players. I mean, if you go back 20 years, I could actually call a couple of people and say, "What do you think?" But those days are gone. My age group is not in the game anymore, so I'll have to wait and see like everybody else.
Yeah, Drew, real quick on Bauer though. Yeah. Bauer's the poster child. Garrett Cole's a close second, but Bauer is the poster child, and he has had 2 awful starts. His last 2 out. Since I did that video 2 Sundays ago was his first start. That day I said watch him. This past Saturday, even worse. They lose 12-1 to the Rangers. at home.
To the Rangers.
So I don't think he's cheating anymore, because I think Dave's exactly right. I think he is on the radar, and I don't think he's using anything. And his spin rate is down several hundred RPM in those starts. Mm-hmm. So the question becomes, this week when he pitches again before this new crackdown date, does he have all of a sudden go out and throw 300-400 RPM higher and cheat again? This could be the most exciting start to watch all season, in my opinion, this week. I'm not sure I touch it as a bettor, but yeah, Bauer is the guy. But if his numbers are any indication, they might not be able to catch him with any evidence right now.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch. Interesting start for sure, Steve. And it comes back to the question, is the risk reward kind of there for these pitchers, like you talked about? I mean, how many starts in a row are they going to go? Keep in mind, they get paid by doing this.
Yeah, but nobody, nobody wants to get caught. Okay, it's a bad look for whoever gets caught. They're going to, nobody wants to be serenaded by the chance that Jose Altuve is getting in every visiting ballpark. The whole crowd, and now there's crowds back there. Cheater. I don't know anybody who wants to be that guy. So I don't think these guys want to get caught. I think the risk reward, we're already seeing the risk reward, and that's why the offensive numbers are going up.
All right, good points there. Good discussion, guys. And we'll make our way down the list here. Second game up, a good one here. We get AL East versus NL East, the Red Sox and the Braves. Steve, we're seeing 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing in Cobb County here, 7:20 Eastern. Davidson versus Rodriguez, two lefties going at it. Seeing the Braves minus 115, home favorites here, total of 9. You interested in getting involved here with the Sox and the Braves tonight, Steve?
Well, I talked about, the Toronto game, a little bit of a worry for Toronto, maybe having a letdown after that heartbreaking loss last night. They tied up the top of the ninth, and then the Red Sox went in the bottom of the ninth 2-1. But you could also say maybe this is a flat spot for the Red Sox, also having to travel without rest. But unlike Toronto, who's heading home, or they're semi-home in Buffalo, the Red Sox now go to the road to Atlanta, to a Braves team that did not play yesterday, was sitting and waiting for them. So I do think the situational setup here is good for Atlanta. And while Toronto cooled off offensively, they had been red hot before that, as we mentioned. The Red Sox, once again, not good offensively last night. Only 2 runs on those 7 hits. They'd had 6 hits and 5 hits in the 2 weekend games against Toronto before that, with only 2 runs and 4 runs scored. So I'm not going to look for them to flip a switch here with no rest in a difficult travel situation. So I think the setup is good for Atlanta here. And as you mentioned, Drew, 2 lefties on the mound here. And the Red Sox this year on the road games only, averaging almost 2.5 runs less per 9 innings against lefties, 3 versus 5.5. That's pretty substantial. The batting averages, surprisingly enough, are about the same, though. So maybe we don't read too much into that, but the run production per 9 innings on the road, almost half against lefties. So I don't think it's a good spot for Boston.
Yeah, Boston travel here, plus the fact their bullpen and their bullpen hasn't been good, Dave, and their lineup has been cold, even though they got the win yesterday. What are you thinking here, Red Sox and Braves, Dave?
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about the Red Sox bullpen because it's fresh. They didn't use anybody in that blowout. They used 2 position players in the game. And then, last night Barnes threw a handful of pitches, but they've got everybody available tonight. Red Sox bullpen's better than the Braves. I'll talk about the 2 pitchers. Eduardo Rodriguez, I can't figure it out. His velocity's down a little, but it's not dramatically down. His walks to strikeouts are fine. He's got a very unlucky batting average on balls in play. I think it's 370. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's insanely high. So he's had bad luck. But there's no buy sign. I mean, he's had 8 straight starts that are average or less than average on game scores. So I don't think he's thrown the ball badly, but the results just aren't there. Tucker Davidson on the mound for the Braves. Watched him pitch. He's only had 3 starts. I think his fastball is really ordinary, but he's got good breaking stuff, good curve, good slider. And for hitters who have not seen pitchers, particularly lefties, who have good breaking stuff, they often have trouble with them early on. So I don't think Davidson's a long-term guy for the Braves. I think he's probably middle to the back of the rotation, might even be a bullpen guy down the road. But right now, he appears to have a little bit of an advantage over the hitters. Atlanta, better numbers against lefties at home than Boston has against lefties on the road. Red Sox on the road against lefties only at 81 WRC plus, which is not very good. And they're not hitting the ball all that well right now. Braves actually in a little better form offensively. Atlanta got a much-needed win on Sunday. They had not been playing good ball. They needed that game on Sunday. They beat Pablo Lopez and the Marlins. Thankfully, that price went up because I had circled the Marlins and was probably going to play them there, but the price went up to like 145, and it's like, no, I'm not doing that. So that saved me a loss. I would have to look at the Braves side here. I think the check marks are on the Atlanta side for the most part in this game.
All right, at home in an NL ballpark. And looking at the chat box here, guys, we got Can't Get It Right saying 10 games isn't enough. Talking about the substance and getting caught here like we were before the Braves-Red Sox games. It should be 10 starts instead, and that should correct it.
No, you can't do that.
Yeah, that seems a little bit harsh.
Real,
but,
okay, they're not going to take, but especially a potential star, they're not going to take him and sit. 10 starts would be more than it'd be a third of the season. So no, okay, no, that's not going to happen. I mean, you can say it ought to be this, it ought to be that. Deal in reality, guys. Okay, they're not going to take. Let's say Trevor Bauer gets caught or Garrett Cole gets caught. You really think they're going to sit them down for a third of the season? Come on.
Love the comment, though. Can't get it right. And guys in the chat box, let us know what you think it should be. And if you're watching on replay, feel free to drop a line below. Let us know if you think it's enough of a punishment, not enough, where you think it should be. And love the comments. Love you joining in here live on the chat box. Please smash the like button if you're liking the content. We got third game up here, Dave. Two hot teams in the NL Central, Cincinnati Reds, Milwaukee Brewers, 8:10 Eastern here. We get Anderson going for the Brew Crew. Castillo going for Cincinnati. The Reds winning 4 straight. Both teams 8-2 their last 10 here, Dave. Key game in the NL Central. What are you thinking tonight in Milwaukee? And
here's the classic case of first 5 versus 9 innings as far as the betting line's concerned. For the game, for the full game, Brewers actually open as a small favorite. The Reds are now small favorites, minus 105, minus 110. But look at the first 5. Castillo opened 125, and it's in the 135 range. I'm seeing as high as 140. So the market is absolutely pounding the Reds here. They're a hot baseball team. Anderson's been lousy. Castillo does appear to be finding it to some extent for the Reds. Got off to an absolutely horrible start. But his last few outings, he's looked a little more like the Luis Castillo we're used to seeing. And I definitely circled the Reds in this game as far as first 5 is concerned, but that line went nuts. So that kept me out of the game. But the advantages are with the Reds here. They're blazing hot right now. I think they've scored double figures in 3 of their last 4 games. They lead the majors in double-figure output games this season, and they're facing a lefty in Brett Anderson who just hasn't been good. He's been a little fortunate. Brewers are 2-1 in his home start, 6-4 overall. But look at his game scores. His average game score is 43 at home, 45 overall, 50's average. So he is well below average. That's not a pitcher you want to be putting your money on at this point. And to me, you priced out on Castillo on the first 5. And if it does get to be a bullpen game, late inning advantage goes to the Brewers. They have the much better bullpen. The Reds bullpen sucks. So I can't recommend to play here. I mean, I did like Cincinnati, but once the price gets out of my range, I just scratch it off. And I recommend bettors do the same. If you can't get a good price in the game, even if you like a side, if the value is gone and you're paying a negative value to bet the game, you just don't do it. You move on to another one.
Yes, Steve. I mean, get in here on the Reds and Brewers. Like to Dave's point, Castillo's been a lot better of late, a high potential guy, and he seemed to found it. Do you agree with this market move towards the Reds?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, for the game, Dave's right. The first 5 is much pricier, but for the game, you're still getting a pick on price, minus 105 each way. And one of those free play games I used yesterday, I mentioned those free play winners on Monday. I actually made a video for the over in this one. And Cincinnati got it done by themselves. 10-2 went over the 9. And one of the things I liked about it was that Cincinnati has been a capable offensive team this year, and they're in good current form. They have now put up 10 runs or more in 3 of their last 4 games. They've put up 7 runs or more in 6 of their last 12. Actually, no, it was 6 out of 11, so now it's 7 out of 12. Updating my stats in my head from my video yesterday. So, yeah, their offensive momentum is good, and Milwaukee has struggled offensively all season. It's interesting. Milwaukee, going into last night, had scored 7 runs in 3 of their 4 previous games, and they'd done so with 8 hits or less in every one of those games. They put up 7 runs on 8 hits or less every time. I think the hits eventually is a better barometer of a team's true offensive performance. And Milwaukee obviously struggled last night. I got that over because of Cincinnati. No help from Milwaukee. It only had 2 runs on 4 hits. So the offensive momentum is definitely Cincy. I still like him at the pick-em price. So, yeah, Reds minus 105 would be the way I'd play this one.
Looking towards the Reds there. And, watch out for the bullpen there for the Reds. But full game, it's about pick-em. And like Dave talked about in the first 5, laying a little bit of a price tag on Castillo and the Reds. Guys, we got 1 game left, and the chat box has been killing it during the whole show here, talking a lot about the Rays and the White Sox. Shout out to all of you, Abby. We got Jessica, Patrick, all of you guys in here. Feel free to chime in on this one as well. McClanahan versus Keuchel. We're talking number 1 and number 2 teams in baseball here, Steve. We get with the White Sox seeing about a minus 120 at the open. Now we're seeing about a pick 'em price here. Pick the winner, seeing minus 105 each side. Total of 8 on the south side. 2 good bullpens, 2 great teams here, Steve. Possible American League Championship Series preview. What are you thinking tonight on the south side?
Yeah, by the way, we've got a lot of southpaw matchups we've talked about on the show here today, and this is another one. And, of course, the White Sox are the one team that always jumps out to you when you talk about southpaws. I don't know what their updated record is right now, but I know a few weeks ago, going back to last year, up until about a month ago, they were 24-3 against left-handed starters. If you look at their overall numbers, by the way, I don't put a lot into that. I look at lefty road numbers, as I said, because that takes in all different types of parks, different pitchers. I like to look at 9-inning numbers. The White Sox have not been as dominant this year. They've been really good against righties and lefties. But what jumps out to me about this lefty versus lefty matchup is Tampa. This is a team that's been very explosive offensively this year. But boy, have their numbers been weaker against lefties on the road. They're batting nearly 25 points less against lefties on the road. More importantly, they're averaging almost 2 runs per 9 innings less against lefties on the road. So Tampa's really done their damage against right-handers away from home and not lefties. 2 offenses that are in good current form once again, 2 capable offenses. But Chicago, I think, a little bit better current form. They had that 15-run breakout 3 games ago. They followed it up with only 4 runs, but they still had 11 hits in that game. And then in their most recent game last night, just 5 hits, 2 runs. So we saw this, with Toronto cooling off. We saw it with Chicago last night. We'll see if it continues, if it's a barometer of things to come. But I still think a 4 or 5 game sample is more telling. Tampa, lives and dies by the big home run, by the big power hits. But once again, they haven't been as strong against lefties. So I like Chicago at home. Pretty even bullpens, pretty even pitching matchup. I think home field offensive edge gets me on the White Sox here, especially with Tampa being much weaker against southpaws on the road.
All right, an argument there towards the Chicago White Sox, Dave. We got Rara in the chat box saying Keuchel is 1-5 when facing Tampa Bay. Of course, we do get Chicago versus a lefty, though. That's points to the White Sox. Pick the winner here, Dave. What are you thinking on the south side?
I think the pitching edge is slightly with McClanahan over Keuchel. He's just got better numbers. But the White Sox are 6-1 when Keuchel starts at home and 9-4 overall. So they've usually put some good offense up, and he actually has pitched pretty well in his last couple of starts. Steve already went through the Tampa Bay numbers. If you want to find the weakness on this team, it's been on the road against lefties. Weighted runs created plus only 85 against lefties on the road. That's not very good. And they're facing a guy who's, in good form right now in Keuchel. He's not going to blow anybody away with his stuff, but he has had good location in his last couple of starts, and that's really the key for Keuchel. If he's locating his stuff, it doesn't matter how hard he's throwing it. He gets ground balls, and he's really tough to hit. On the White Sox side, offensively, just fine. 112 WRC plus at home against lefties. Good recent form. The Rays have been smacking it lately. 122 over the past week. That's strong. And the Rays are 17-9 against lefties this year. The White Sox, of course, everybody knows how good they are against lefties, and they're 16-4 this season. But 17-9 is nothing to sneeze at. I have no idea. I hate passing completely on games on these shows. Like to give some kind of an opinion. I don't have one here, so I'll use another game when we get to the best bets. A game I actually do like tonight. So give me a break on this one, and I'm offering nothing.
Hey, that's okay, Dave. Bringing a lot of good analysis here the rest of the show. And like you just talked about, like you just teased there, best bets. But guys, check them out at WagerTalk.com, experts page, Dave Koken, also Steve Merrill as well for good free plays as well. Always up on the site. And remember, it is $2 Tuesday as well. Guys, 300 people watching on YouTube alone right now. We really appreciate you joining us live, 1:45 Eastern time each and every day, Monday through Friday. Please smash that like button. It helps us out if you're liking the content here. time for best bets. We got Steve Merrill up first. Steve, throw it over to you. Where are you going for best bets for the show, buddy?
Yeah, I usually like to try to do a game we don't talk about here, but of the remaining games, I've got two strong best bets tonight at WagerTalk.com. Of all the remaining sides and totals, this is the one that was just a bit outside for making my best bet card, so I'm going to use it as the free play. I like to give people games I still like. I probably treat it as a 1 to 2% opinion play, and that's the Toronto Blue Jays, minus 125. We talked about it earlier. I know they had a tough loss last night. That's kind of what kept this off the card for me as a strong 4% best bet like my other ones. But I think the Blue Jays are still worth a look here as a 1 to 2% play. I like the offensive momentum. Despite last night's struggles with just 4 hits, they did, of course, have 20 hits and 18 runs on Sunday, the day before. And I think they get it back here in Buffalo tonight. It's a hitter-friendly park. Over the past couple seasons in Buffalo, the Blue Jays have been very good there offensively. And even if you take out home numbers and look at road numbers only, which I like to do with teams like Toronto and other hitter-friendly home parks, they still rank ahead of the Yankees this season. A batting average, OPS. Blue Jays, the most home runs on the road this season of any team, so they're a capable power team as well. Yankees, meanwhile, have lost 7 of their last 9 despite hitting the ball, which is not a good sign. They did not hit the ball well on Sunday, got shut out with just 4 hits. And the pitching matchup is pretty equal here, bullpen and starters, and I think we get the better offensive team as a short home favorite here. So I look for the Blue Jays to bounce back off that heartbreaking loss last night. Toronto Blue Jays minus $1.25. That goes at 7 p.m. Eastern tonight on Tuesday.
I like that side as well, Steve. I lost up with them, like you touched on last night, and I still feel like it was the right side. So tonight with the Blue Jays minus $1.25 for Steve Merrill's best bet. Guys, I'm heading to Detroit versus Kansas City, one of the uglier matchups on the board, but my best bet here on the underdog Detroit Tigers. You can get them plus 122. We get the better starting pitcher in Casey Mize. 12 innings, only 6 hits his last 2 starts. He's been really good. 32 strikeouts his last 5 starts. The line drives against are way down, and he's going up against Mike Minor. Heck of a career, nothing against him, but we are far from the Mike Minor throwing 95 plus miles per hour. His last start, he was down to 89 miles per hour. And sure enough, this will be his 3rd time facing the Detroit Tigers lineup. Last time out versus Detroit, he gave up 10 hits, 4 earned runs just 3 weeks ago. So I think a lot favoring here towards the Detroit Tigers lineup. And plus, you're asking the Kansas City Royals here, losing 4 straight, 1-9 their last 10 to lay what, minus 132 right now, lay a big price. No, thank you. I'm taking the underdog Detroit Tigers plus the 122 for my best bet. Last here, 4 best bets. Dave Koken, please finish us off, buddy, on where you're going with best bets tonight.
Okay, well, the quick promotional stuff. I'm now up to number 2 at Wager Talk in baseball profits this season. Was number 1 last year, so that's going well. Overall profits for all sports in 2021, I'm sitting at number 2 as well. I think it's plus 72 units or something like that. So that's going well. Individual games, you take your shot. I would get an all-access package. That would be my recommendation. So you get all the plays. And there is a best bet up tonight, though, if you want just a single game. Angels and A's is where I'm going for the best bet. And Angels lost last night, but they've been playing good ball lately. And actually last night showed some fight. They got absolutely destroyed early because Dylan Bundy, you might as well have had me on the mound for as bad as he was last night. And the A's got out to a huge lead. The Angels still fought back, and they actually had the tying run at the plate, the 8th inning. So they're playing with some confidence right now. And Andrew Heaney's off 2 very good starts. He's not the most consistent guy in the world. So, he's facing an Oakland team that's pretty good against lefties in terms of wins and losses. I think they're 17-9 in the season. But those numbers are a little bit, I won't say completely phony, but a little bit phony because their WRC plus at home against lefties is only 99. So that's basically league average. The Angels are league average on the road against righties, but they're facing a righty who's not in particularly good form, and Frankie Montas. He's below average on the season in his game scores at home. Average is 50. He's at 48. That's not very good. And his average game score overall is 50. Compare that with Heaney, who's 57 average on the road and 53 overall. He's the better pitcher here. Offensive numbers are pretty close. And if you want to look at just the last week, both teams have been raking the ball, but the Angels have been killing it. The A's have been good. The Angels have been fantastic last week. I think Oakland's the right side. The Angels are the right side as a small dog here. First 5 innings, I don't really want the Angels bullpen. Oakland's got the better pen. So we'll look at a first 5 here. You get small underdog odds with the Angels. That's good enough for me. Halo's first 5 for today's best bet on the show.
All right. And for recap of the best bets, guys, we got the Detroit Tigers plus 122. We get Dave Koken on the Angels first 5 plus 110. And Steve Merrill on the Blue Jays minus $1.25 versus the Yankees. So for Dave Koken, Steve Merrill, I am Drew Martin. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Please smash that like button on your way out. We'll talk tomorrow, same time, same place. Come back and join us. Best of luck with your bets until then.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers' best bet or daily package for only $2.